Let's talk for a minute about a specific game series, one that I followed since my earliest ages playing video games, and one that I feel most people have just completely forgotten about at this point in time, which is a shame because it pretty much gave birth to the survival horror series as we know it today. And while Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and other games have refined it past a certain point, the origin point of survival horror came from one specific game, and that game was Alone in the Dark. Developed by Infogrames and released by Interplay in 1992, Alone in the Dark set the stage for what could be called a horror-based game in which you had to use your items and your wits to survive. Hence the creation of the genre known as today, survival horror games. However, the difference between Alone in the Dark and many games we call survival horror games now is the emphasis is less on survival and more on just killing everything in your path. That wasn't Alone in the Dark style. Alone in the Dark required you to navigate a menu to do everything, from fighting to opening and searching, closing and pushing, and every time you wanted to change up you'd have to go back to the menu and do it all over again. However, smart, selective choice making of what to do with the menu and how to activate things in game and how to work the scenarios and the puzzles was what made Alone in the Dark such a classic. More so, it had cutting-edge graphics at the time. I know the graphics now are nothing spectacular. Cutting-edge graphics, and it offered up scripted scenarios where things would happen whether you wanted them to or not, based on the game's timeline. Again, this has been another feature not quite seen yet, and the way it was done in Alone in the Dark was truly, and beyond anything else, absolutely terrifying. And nowadays, it's still as terrifying as it was then, so it stood the test of time. However, unfortunately, with success, they decided they wanted to make more Alone in the Dark games. Instead of ending it where they should have, they decided to release a sequel. Alone in the Dark 2 is basically the spiritual successor to Alone in the Dark 1. The problem is, it's not very scary. It also features way too many action-based puzzles or parts of the game, which was not an emphasis of Alone in the Dark to begin with. So while the action is nice and the bump up in terms of cinematic style of gameplay is nice, it really wasn't that good as a sequel. So after some mixed reception from critics and players alike, they decided to release yet another Alone in the Dark game. This time, instead of dusty old mansions or pirate ships or anything like that, we go to the Old West. Again, it's the same basic gameplay, the same thing we're all used to, but at this point it's not scary and it feels uninspired and insipid. This was the last game for some time that they would release under the Alone in the Dark series, basically because, as far as I know, Alone in the Dark 3 was a complete and utter flop. Of course, almost 6 years later, in 2001, they would bring it back again. This time, just title it The New Nightmare, and instead of making anything resembling Alone in the Dark in the slightest, they would turn it into a really, really bad rip-off of Resident Evil and Silent Hill combined. Insipid, boring, unintuitive, and generally just not interesting in the slightest. Anybody who's played the original Alone in the Dark, who plays Alone in the Dark The New Nightmare, is going to feel the same way I did, that they threw the entire series down the crapper at this point. And with the series being this deflated and this fallen back to nothing, it's not a surprise that Uwe Boll would decide to base a movie off of it. And I say base in the most unliteral sense of the term because it wasn't based at all on the fucking video games. It was based on his own imagination of turning 10-minute shootout sequences into music videos and horrible dialogue, acting, and direction, to the point that, honestly, Alone in the Dark was pretty much dead and buried. Or at least, that's what I thought, anyway.
Hey, you! Over here! Come give me a hand! We've got to go back up!
Now keep in mind, when I bought this game, I hadn't previously seen any reviews. I read the reviews shortly after playing the game a bit, and having played the game somewhat, I had a good feeling and understanding for what was good about it and what wasn't so great about it. However, I was nearly shocked that my eyes almost popped out of my skull when I saw that IGN had given this a 3.5. A 3.5? Are you out of your fucking minds? Even better is the millions of users on GameFAQs who fucking agree with these idiots. More so than anything else that drives me batshit insane than the spammers on this page are idiots who are like sheep, so easily led, who think because a quote-unquote professional told them a game stunk that that's the final word and that they shouldn't even take another look. Well, sorry, IGN, but RMake21 is here to once again debunk your bullshit reviews, and I'm here to show just about everybody on GameFAQs who bash this just how fucking wrong you are and just how bad you really are at gaming. To do that, let's take a look at the major problems, something I've heard so many people bitch and moan about nonstop. The driving sequences. These amazing cinematic set-piece events that occur in the game, aside from wandering around killing stuff, you know, typical survival horror fare, you get very interesting little sequences like this, and it fits the whole idea of trying to make the game more like a TV series or a made-for-DV type series, DVD series rather. And I mean, this is really not that damn difficult. More so, it's powered by some of the best music I've ever heard in a video game to date. I mean, I literally bought the soundtrack when I saw the trailers because I found out that was the music in the damn game itself. But I mean, stuff's exploding, and yeah, you'll see the occasional pop-up of something like falling, like some geometry in the level, but where are these invisible barriers you supposedly hit? Oh, look at that, I almost fell off. Look, the game actually allowed me to steer my car onto there. So where's the broken car controls I keep hearing so much about? Could it be that maybe nobody knows what the fuck they're actually doing and how to steer a freaking car? No, it's not Grand Theft Auto 4, nor does it claim to be, but Jesus Christ, this shit ain't that hard. And whoops, I fucked up. That's the end, right? No. Keep driving. You assholes probably try to continue to accelerate over the fucking hump, even though you rush, you know, you're not going anywhere because the fucking ground is higher than the car at this point. Even better is like if you crash and fuck up, the thing will get closer behind you, and it makes it even more suspenseful and more dramatic. I'll see if I can show you that. In the meantime, let me just try to drive up. I fucked up again. Hopefully that thing will catch up like I was saying. Helicopters exploding. Here we go, he caught up. Doomsday, Armageddon, right? No. As long as you keep your shit in check and you manage to drive through this sequence, you'll have no problem. Let me tell you something. The first time I did this, I had just as many issues as everyone else. You know what my problem was? My problem was I wasn't fucking driving. I thought this was Gran Turismo or Grand Theft Auto with magical car handling abilities that would allow me to not fly off the fucking road and drive at 85 miles per hour keeping a straight peg. No, it's not going to be like that. The whole fucking world around you is collapsing and being destroyed. You don't drive straight. You drive like a fucking lunatic to get to the end. As this sequence here will describe. Now, people have told me non-stop that they can't even get past this part. The ground disappears, they fall through imaginary holes. You know what, honestly? And I'll wait for this to end. Honestly, not one of you who reviewed this game badly knows how to fucking play video games. This is one of the most cinematic sequences ever seen in a video game, and it's a disgrace that this game should be getting a 3.5. It's a disgrace that it should get any lower than a 7.5 when it manages to pull a sequence like this off so goddamn well. You only suck at it if you suck at gaming. End of story. I did that in one fucking shot. And that's the third time I'm doing it, grand total.